You can be fake and
Mm,
connect, but you can't do that consistently and get away with it, because at some point
mhm.
in the journey of the relationship, your credibility is going to come up.
Warning: Damian Andrews' growing revenue and profit, if implemented, will put more money in your pocket. Please use with caution.
Welcome to Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit with international speaker and revenue and growth specialist, Damian Andrews. This is your source for practical, usable, and simple action steps that you can do every day to put more money in your pocket. And now, the host of Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit, Damian Andrews.
And the crowd cheers wildly to the trumpeting blasts of elephants sliding through eyes of needles. This is Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit, the program that deals with all things that puts more cash in your pocket. This is the show that handles your revenue riddles, profit puzzles, operational oddities, and culture conundrums. I am the one, the only Damian Andrews, and today it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome the amazing Lisa Guglielmino, otherwise known as Lisa G, or the Business Chick, which is she's the founder of the Business Chick Consultancy. Now, Lisa is a specialist in cracking the code to your business's performance. Lisa will give you the tools and strategy to start making more money and finding more time. She's combined 25 years of business experience in management, fitness, sport, sales, and marketing to help make your business soar. Yes, you can do it all. Welcome, Lisa. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Hi there, Damien. How are you going today?
I'm doing fabulous. We were having a bit of a chat in the pre-show for the audience, and we are talking about mowing lawns and gumping, and and Lisa's relaxing on her Friday night to have that time to just chill out. So, but for the audience, do you want to take us back? Do you want to jump in the Wayback Machine? Now, you might remember this. Some of the audience will remember this as well. There was this silver car that Doc Brown invented from the movie Back to the Future. And when you hit 88 miles an hour, you could travel through time.
Let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back. Do you want to jump in that and hit 88 miles an hour and just talk about, because you've got a diverse history of marketing, fitness. Tell us a little bit about that and how that led to you helping businesses.
Yeah, so I have always been all about just going with the flow and doing what you're best at, because that's when you'll enjoy it the most. Let's enjoy life. And my very first industry that I worked in was the fitness industry, way back in the 80s and 90s, when it was all fluoro and it was
I'm loving it. Yeah.
yeah. So I was an aerobics champion, and I
Wow.
was managing gyms, and then I owned a gym, and then I worked in Europe, in Germany, and I was training other gym owners and gym staff around
Mm.
customer service and sales, because Australia was really ahead of the rest of the world when it came to the fitness industry. Back
Okay.
then, really leading the way. So that really, I guess, started the beginning of my sales and customer service journey, and knowing how to connect with staff and business owners and train them up to perform better.
Mm.
So the whole performance side of things really comes through from my fitness and my sports background.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so you've got a sales training from the very beginning. Now, sales is obviously very important for a business because it helps generate revenue. But you
Mm.
hear, and from what I've seen, there's a lot of people out there looking for that one key trick, that one line, and there's a lot of people, they talk about, if I could get that one ad on the Super Bowl as a metaphor, but people do that. Is that
Mm.
how it works? Is it just one key line, or is it a different process to sales?
Um, When we really look at what sales and marketing is all about,
Mm-hmm.
really the one thing you need to think about is, what is that one message that really hits the pain point, what my customer needs or wants? Why do they need and want my service or my product? What is the pain point that they're looking for, a cure for? That is the golden goose, is knowing what their pain point is. And that may be a one-liner, but it may not, because every business is different. You can't just act like you're Coca-Cola or Pepsi.
But
They've
even
got
Coca-Cola or Pepsi, they don't do it just once, is the point I was getting to. It's not one
they
ad for
change
Coke.
all the time.
Yeah. And
They
it's
change over time, yeah.
and from that perspective, because you mentioned about from the gym, so we've got the pain point, you've identified a pain point. And then
Mhm.
you talked about at the very beginning, if I heard correctly, you talked about customer service and sales. Now, were you linking them together, that is important? Creating a relationship is important to sales?
Yeah, look, connection and relationships is uh, everything I do hinges on connection and relationships.
Hmm.
So um, I'm a business coach and I work with businesses to, number one, have a plan and a strategy. And within that strategy, okay, if you look at every department of your business, have you connected with that message of that department?
Mm.
Are you engaging and communicating properly with that department, whether it be the people in the department or the customers, the customer service, the marketing, your own finances? Are you actually connecting with and understanding your finances and your numbers? So, engagement in every single way throughout your whole business, not just in the parts of the business that you like looking at, is is really the crux of what I do with people. So when we're talking about customer service and sales,
Mm.
they go hand in hand, don't they?
They do. They
Because
definitely do.
customer service is all about connecting and engaging with people, and so is sales.
How much of that from that marketing perspective do you find and the sales perspective really hinges on creating that relationship? I mean, and do people really, understand that that is that connection that, because when we look at it, the
Mm,
best form of advertising is word of mouth. Now,
mm,
it's difficult to get word of mouth if, you've made the sale, but the person walks away with a bad taste in their mouth.
exactly.
Yeah. So how
That's
it,
the relationship.
yeah.
If
Is
they
it,
walk away with a bad taste in their mouth, that's about the relationship you've created.
mm,
You haven't followed through on this awesome relationship that you should have been setting up from the very beginning.
mm. Is there from that side of things, when we're looking at it, if we're creating a relationship, are there any tricks to a relationship or is it simply just being genuine?
Good question. Good question. Some people are really good at being fake genuine.
Yes. I
But
think we've all had that experience where we've been sold on something. We've gone, "Oh, this is wonderful. We got this great relationship." I think I've dated someone like that once. And, you know, and then
yeah,
you
or
find out, you wake up and go, "Oh, sorry?"
when you're interviewing someone and they're
Mm.
really good in the interview, and
Yeah.
when they finally get into the role, they're not exactly what they sold themselves as in
Yes.
the interview. So I guess you can be fake and
Mm.
connect, but you can't do that consistently and get away with it, because at some point
Mm.
in the journey of the relationship, your credibility is going to come up. The
Mm.
cracks will show. So isn't it just easier to be genuine right from the beginning?
Well, that's what I wonder, and well, I don't wonder, from my perspective, it just seems simple to do that, just to be you, and you'll connect with the right people. And because that's why, hear a lot about click funnels or funnels, and to me, I'm looking at going, well, you're spending all this time with all these people that may not be relevant. Why not just be you, and you'll connect with the people that are there, and that makes that whole process, which in a sense is probably a funnel anyway, from a metaphor perspective. But
It's
is
just
it
more
better?
specific because you're attracting the people that are actually interested in you
Yeah. So,
rather than
so
the high level, dance.
yeah, exactly. So how does someone do that? How do they, because I think a lot of people have that perception. You've got to go out there and you've got to hustle and you've got to, you've got to project this thing. You've got to have the sports car and have all that image. And I've
Mm.
seen people do that where they'll spend all this money trying to project an image and then it'll take a lot longer than they thought. And they've got to carry that cost, which is really expensive. And it's putting a lot of stress and pressure. And you're talking about having time for yourself. How does someone have the confidence to know that just be you and build it up that way?
Okay, so it really depends on the industry that you're in
Hmm.
as well, because there are some industries that you absolutely need to look the part for people to believe
Yeah.
that you're an awesome real estate agent, awesomely successful, whatever.
Yeah.
So it depends on the industry that you're
Mm.
in. But even if you decide that your brand, your business's brand, and your personal brand need to be, that high level Mercedes sports, slick, and, the gold Rolex, even if you decide that that's absolutely necessary for your brand,
Hmm.
it still needs to be something in your personal brand that's you.
Mm.
That is authentic and
Mm.
shows that you're open to a real relationship, not just the fake part.
Yes.
So I would probably argue with some people will say, well, I'm doing everything that they say in my industry I should be doing to win customers, but it's not working.
Mm.
So maybe that's why it's not working, because you're just doing what they say you should be doing instead of being you.
I love that, what you just said. They're doing what they say you should be doing. Where
Mm,
does that, I mean, because when we look at that as well, because if you're doing what they say you should be doing, and we talk about a unique value proposition, if you're doing what everyone else is doing,
mm.
you're not unique anymore.
There's no unique there, is there?
Yeah. So is it better just to identify who you are and
Mm.
project that out into the world?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, for the last 8 years, I've really been fine tuning my own brand for my business.
Hmm.
And for the first couple of years, it wasn't really working. I had a few clients and it was kind of nice and comfortable, but it wasn't really super successful like I wanted it to be. It wasn't growing. So
Mm.
I have to, it takes time and you need to go through the process of learning and trying things out and seeing what fits and what doesn't fit and growing
Mm.
confidence to be game enough to actually step out and be you. It doesn't
Mm.
happen overnight.
Yeah.
So it took a few years for me to realize, okay, I've been trying to be this,
Mm.
what a business coach is supposed to look like,
Yeah.
and that's not working. It's
Yeah.
okay, but it's not really working. And I'm actually kind of tired and not really enjoying it.
Mm.
Thus came the rebrand.
Yes.
The business chick isn't like that.
It's
And
not. It's
she's
very
a little
unique.
bit loud and she's wears bright colors and she'll tell you how it is and she might even swear sometimes. Um, but you know what? I have so much more energy now to
Mm.
give to my clients because I'm just relaxing and being me.
Yeah.
And I'm attracting the type of clients that appreciate that rather than
Mm.
trying to work with clients that really aren't my ideal clients.
That's an interesting point you made because I had some clients, there was a plumbing business and it was a big business. They were turning over 15 mil. So it was a decent sized business, but they were
Mhm.
working flat out, weren't happy,
Mm.
weren't seeing their family, so 7 days a week. So they decided we're just going to focus on the good clients, and they culled the rest. Revenue dropped by a third. It's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, But they had more time for their family. They only worked 5 days a week. They felt better. The thing that they noticed most was their profit went up.
Ooh,
So
yes.
how important is that from a time perspective when you look at it? And I know it's probably a rhetorical question given the story I just told.
So they're doing less but making more.
Because they're focusing on the quality, because you just identified that you were looking at, what are the clients that fit me, that I can work with? How much from your perspective in your business journey did you find that, I know you kind of touched on it, but can you expand a little bit more on that, finding the clients that fit with you? How did that affect you as a whole person, not just as a business person, but as a whole person?
Looking back now, how did it affect me personally as
Yeah, well,
well?
from your life,
All about the growth.
yeah.
It's all about the growth and accepting who you are, and that you
Mm,
don't have to be like everyone else. Just be
mm,
you. You don't have to compete with all of the other competition.
yeah.
Just be you.
What did
Uh,
that do for your peace of mind though, and your time and your day?
yeah, yeah. I'm much more relaxed now. Much more relaxed. Not thinking, "Oh, what if, and maybe I should," and no,
Yeah.
just do it.
So
Just stop being scared.
is it a quiet confidence that you now have where you go, okay,
Mm,
I know who I am. I know what my client looks like, or a description of my client,
mm.
and I will focus solely on those, as opposed to trying to say I'm something for everybody.
Because when you're something for everybody, you know that saying, "Then you're nothing to nobody." Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
something along those lines, yeah. It's like,
Nothing to
I have the
anyone.
Einstein principle. Einstein said, "Why, don't remember anything you can look up because you're clogging up your brain thinking capacity." So that's my excuse when I can't remember something.
I like that. That's me too. Yeah. So I'm off track now. What were we talking
No,
about?
because we're talking about, again, as a business. I mean, a lot of people when they're starting out in business, and even if they've been in business for a long time, they get stuck in this mindset, this scarcity mentality, where they've
Mm,
got to take every client. And using that example of what you said, you're doing all these different things, and yeah, then identifying this is my core client and just focusing on that, and what that does for you, for the success of your business, for your own personal well-being.
because then you're actually honing all your skills in
Mm,
on that problem for that unique client,
yeah.
right? And you're becoming really good at
Yeah.
solving those problems instead of someone comes to you and they're not really your ideal client. So now you've got to make a whole new program or adjust the product that you already have to fit them. So now you've wasted hours just adjusting to serve.
Mm. Yeah, so you're becoming a specialist as opposed to a generalist, which is then worth more. A specialist is always worth more.
Yeah,
So you can
absolutely. And it's the same, on the production line. If you
mm,
have a product rather than a service, how do you streamline everything so there's no more waste, and
mm,
really specific with that product, and it's targeted specifically at the person that will buy it like that?
yeah, that's awesome. From that side of things as well, when we're talking about being a specialist, and you have worked in marketing and dealt with marketing and know marketing very well. Um,
Mm,
when we're marketing, is it better? Because that's where I come back to that Super Bowl example. Because a lot of people that I've seen, that they want to get that one massive exposure, but is
mm.
marketing really about a one hit out there in the market, or do you need to be repetitively out there? So what I'm getting to is it more important to try and spread your resource, because you've got finite resources to market, and even if you're doing it yourself, you still got finite time, which is again the most valuable thing anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it a case where you're better off to just narrow down and be really good at one area,
Yeah.
or should you spread your time around and money resources around multiple areas?
Well, they say, um, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it took 7 contacts with the customer for them to actually come and buy from you. So you're
Mm,
building that credibility and they're seeing you, even if it's just
mm,
a sign as they drive past. It's about 7 contacts. Now, gosh, a couple of years ago, I heard it was 15, and just recently, I'm pretty sure the number I heard was 27.
wow.
So a customer needs to actually see or hear about you or experience something to do with your business
Mm,
27 times before, on average, they actually walk in the door and spend
yeah.
money. So,
Insane, isn't it?
yeah, that one big splash
Mm.
might work if you're on Oprah, because I hear that if you happen to be on Oprah, then that's it. You're a billionaire after that. Everyone wants your product. So if you can get onto Oprah, Damien, then
Yeah.
also we're all millionaires. Right? But other than that, you need to make sure that you have this advertising plan that touches your potential customer
Mm,
7 times
yeah. But
so that
even if you did get that one splash, does
Mm,
that work as well? I had a client, and they, they were originally a $35 million company. They went to 110 in
mhm.
2 years. But
Wow.
their systems weren't there. Well, a couple of the directors came from a big organization. They went off by themselves and started their own business.
Mm,
So they had a lot of the skill to do this, and they had a lot of the connections to do that. But when I got involved, they're at the 110 area in a lot of trouble because
mm,
the systems hadn't evolved. There's certain different types of management for different levels,
yeah,
and I'm talking at the high end where we go, from 10 million to 25 million is a change in operations. 25 to 50 is a change in operation. 50 to 100 is a change in operations. They went from 35 to 110, didn't change the operations, and so I'm there helping
there's a
and
whole lot of complications
yeah,
that have
it's
now set in that, you need to deal with
yeah,
from
so and that's
process
what
systems.
yeah, exactly. So from that perspective, what I'm getting to with that is those systems, because that company did eventually it went under. The directors are so stressed. I'd prepared a report that would have given them $8 million revenue. They just needed to get across to the client. He
Mm.
just had to read it and sign it, and he was so stressed out he couldn't do it. And
Yes.
but what I'm getting to from that perspective as well, because that one Oprah experience is nice, but if you haven't got the ability to fulfill that because you mentioned about customer service, how important is that to have that process in place to be able to scale it that quickly, and how difficult
Yeah.
is it to scale that quickly?
I think this is one of the main things that I deal with and that I
Mm,
see with clients. So they'll be at a stage. So there might be 4 stages of
mhm,
business, right? And they might be sitting in stage 2. They've
mm,
got, they're happy in their business. They've got 10 staff or
mhm,
20, whatever. But to go to that next level that you just spoke about,
mm,
there has to be a jump.
mm,
You have to jump to that level. So you either have to have the confidence
yeah,
that, yes, I have the revenue that's going to sustain us for us to
mm,
jump to the next level and invest in that
yeah,
next level. Or, yes, I have the staff that can support us so that when we jump
mm,
to the next level, we can create that revenue. So
yes,
which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
exactly.
And the problem is, here's the 2 things that usually happen. They
Mm,
either jump, which is what your, clients did. They've jumped, and then they
yeah,
was like, "Oh my god, how do we keep up?"
yeah,
And they were really stressed. So then they need you to come in and help them get everything
so,
lined up and
mm,
sorted so they can cope.
yeah,
Or they sit here in stage 2 and they never do anything.
mm,
Never jump because they just can't figure out how to do it, and they're not willing to take the risk,
mm,
do the jump. And that's when they need you or I to come in and give them that confidence and show them the ways so that they're willing to take
yeah.
the jump and they realize it's not actually that big a jump. You're just making it complicated in your head.
Well, that's an interesting point that said, and for the listeners, just to pay attention to that, is one, if you are going to jump big, you need to have all those resources behind you, which is, Lisa, who sounds like you will be very good to call and get people to help and sort that through if you do make that jump. But
Mm.
from that side of things, I mean, when you're planning on that, and this is where I was coming back to that marketing point of view, is it, better to have a plan that's well thought out, spend a little bit more time, and also be critical about it? Because how much does optimism bias, have you found, factors into things where, we've all seen the graph. You've got the chart and it starts here and it says, this is the road, and it's this nice little smooth road to get to here. And then we
Yeah.
go, this is what we experience. And it's like, stuff all that. And I'm looking at it going, the bottom one, where it's
Yeah.
all over the place, that was always the reality. But we've thought it's going to be so smooth. Do we need to sometimes just take a step back and have a really good think about it and get some different perspective, even though we might not like what we hear?
For sure, you can't do it on your own.
Mm,
You can't have, 5 different perspectives and be able to look down on it
mm,
unless without having other people there to reflect with you.
mm,
It's not possible,
yeah.
don't you think?
I 100% agree. I mean, from what I've seen, and I had that the other day as well. I mean, with a project that I was working on for it's for a radio station that I'm CEO of.
Mm.
I was going, I'm going to do this, and I run it past a friend, and who's not involved in any way. It's just someone I know that I can trust. And
Yeah.
even that, he wrote back and said, "Your market's not there," and I was going, "Yeah, it is." And I had to step back and
Mhm.
really have a good think about it. And went, okay, actually, I'm being a bit over optimistic here. I need to step back.
And it's
Um,
not just being over optimistic. There's
mm,
also people who are negative and not optimistic at all, and
mm,
they have a plan, but it's such a bland, boring plan because they really don't believe that it could be any better.
mm. So,
They're the people, that's another thing to look at, right? It's not about stopping people from being optimistic, but most of the time I have to actually boost them up to
um,
give them that optimism and say, well, what if? And how
yeah,
about this idea? And do you think you could do this? And they go, oh, no, I couldn't. Why not?
yeah,
Well, because really, maybe I could.
right, yeah,
Opening the doors of opportunity for them to see
mm,
other ways that might be
yeah,
possible. That's really exciting.
yeah. To work through that, is that difficult for people to see that? Is that a personal journey or is it a business journey?
Um, Everything comes back to a personal journey.
I know it was a rhetorical question.
Yeah, everything comes back to it always ends up coming back to a person's personal mindset, where they're
Mm,
at, or the limiting beliefs that they have from,
mm,
how they grew up and their beliefs around money or their beliefs around success. Um, I had a client once who could get their business to a certain level,
mhm,
um, financially, the number, but they'd always get to that number and then it'd drop back down. And then they get to
yeah,
that number and then drop. They could never break that ceiling of that one number. For like
yeah,
20 years, they could never
wow,
get past that number.
yeah,
Um, so, cut a long story short, we finally figured out, because I'm thinking, yeah, this has got nothing to do with the business.
yeah,
Why do you take your foot off the accelerator every time you
mm,
get to that number?
yeah,
So we finally figured out that way back when she was a child,
um,
she remembered her mum and dad standing in the kitchen, and they weren't business owners, they were employees.
mm,
And so she remembers, and this has stayed with her her whole life,
yeah,
that business owners and bosses are assholes.
ooh,
If you want to be if you're successful, you've got to
mm,
be a bastard.
yeah, That's
Was-
going to be.
So,
Mm,
of course, she's never going to get past that number, because if she goes past that number, it means she's going to have to be an asshole.
yeah.
People aren't going to like me.
And is that something difficult for people from your experience to accept that? And we were talking in the pre-show about a friend of mine who was sick and took time out of the business, and then, then the business exploded in a good way because he'd got out of their way. Is
Yeah.
is that something that you find that it's difficult for people to accept that they're the handbrake within their business?
It's difficult for them to look back and notice it, but then
Mm.
once they notice it, it's like, oh my God, of course, right. They accept it, and it's like, all right, let's do, that's great. How do I get over this?
Yeah.
What's the fix for this?
I always find that astounding, that it is that process of going, it's not,
It's
it's
not them, it's
it's the
me.
people. Yeah, they go, it's the people, but no, it's not the people.
Yeah, it's not them, it's you.
But on the people, I was doing that as a segue as well. With the people as well, because today the demographics have changed. When I look at, for example, my dad, he worked in the same organization his entire life,
Mm.
and from there, it's probably understandable when you had the boomers. There was an abundance of employees, which made it easier for business to find people, and that's probably why we had the trade unions do what they did back in the 70s and 80s with strikes and things like that, because you had.
High unemployment is really good for business owners.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we're in a state now where the demographics have changed. The boomers are all retiring, and now there's a lack, and especially COVID really woke this up for people, that they didn't have to work the way that they were working. So a
Mm.
lot of people just didn't go back.
Yeah.
Um, for how important is it to create, because you mentioned values before and talking about, your business and all the different departments operating from that, or that's what I heard. How important is it for you as a business to create a unique selling proposition of the values of how you operate, of the culture you're creating, and the impact that you're making to society? Because a lot of people care about, are we taking care of the environment? Are we taking care of people? How
Yeah.
important is it to create that culture to attract
You
quality
want to
employees?
be It's really important to be an employer of choice
Mm,
now, because it's so hard. Every single industry that I've been inside of in the last 12 months is
mm,
struggling to find staff and
yeah.
keep staff. It's really difficult at the moment. So you need to have that culture and your values and the approach to looking after your employees has to be
Mm.
rock solid. So when people walk in, they want to be part of that.
Mm. And
Ooh,
how do you what can people do to create that culture? Again, let's assume that we're talking about authentic here, because we've covered that off. We don't need to go back, and you've got to create an authentic. You can't have it on paper and not do it in real life. But what are some of the key things that people can actually do? And that's why I
yeah,
said
good
the word "do"
question.
to create that culture. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So kind of depends on the size of the business,
Mm-hmm.
because different size teams and different industries have the people have different expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So in saying that, you really need to listen to their expectations.
Mm.
As the boss or the leader, be open to listening
Mm-hmm.
and give the message and let people know that you are open to listening without shooting them down saying that's wrong. No, that's stupid. That's a silly idea.
Yeah.
So then people are willing and open, and they feel like they can share their opinion without
Mm.
being shot down in flames. When that happens, you're giving them permission
Mm.
to think outside the box
Yeah.
and bring in more creativity
Mm.
into their day and more creativity into the team. So
Mm.
now the team is talking to each other.
Mhm.
They're willing to share their opinions, and they're
Mm.
also, because they know that people aren't judging them, then
Mm.
also willing to be shot down and said,
Mm.
"No, I actually disagree." And they're not going to take it personally because the team is actually engaged and understands each other. Does that make sense?
Sounds like what you're talking about there is creating a safe space to
That
explore.
one? Yeah, yeah. And it's hard to create a safe space
We're
when
doing
it's
it.
you.
Yeah.
You
She
need
said
to engage.
seashells by the seashore.
Yeah, yeah. A safe space comes from everyone in the team,
Mm.
not just you. So it's about bringing everyone in and consistently
Mm.
putting that message forward, not just once and expecting people to do it.
Yeah, that's a very important point, is not doing it once,
Mm,
because and we'll deal with the whole thing on habits. But I want to come back before we deal with that.
mm,
Is the other word that you said there? It was the L word, and I'm not talking about love. I'm talking about listening.
mm,
How important is that? Because I mean, when you look at today's society, especially with all the social media, it seems when you're out there, everyone's just putting their opinion across, and opinions are like proverbials.
mm.
Everyone has one, most of them stink.
Mm.
But isn't it a case where this whole component of listening, we need to step back, especially as a business owner or manager, if that's the position you're in, to actually step back and learn that skill of listening. And how hard is that to do?
Yeah, so stop and listen,
Mm.
but then there's another step to that, and
Hmm.
that is show them that you've heard and
Um,
understood.
yeah, I love
You can
that.
say, "I listen all the time," but do they actually feel like you heard them?
Mm.
So I had many years ago, I had this job and my desk was in the
Mm.
same room as the director.
Yeah.
So I was his key salesperson,
Hmm.
right? Sales manager.
Yeah.
And I would walk in and he was a very strong, dominant personality. So when we look at the disc profiling, I
Hmm.
love disc profiling because it really helps us understand what sort of communication each person
Mm.
responds to.
Yeah.
When we look at disc profiling, he was a strong D for dominant.
Hmm.
That means that he really doesn't care about what you did on the weekend, but I'll ask if I have to just so that I'm, ticking the box and communicating. So
I'm
I'd
laughing because maybe I've been there.
yeah, right.
I've done that.
So I'd walk in and go, "Hey, Lisa, how you going?" I say, "Great, how are you?" And I'm going to my desk to start work. He says, "So, how was your weekend?" And I know he doesn't care about my weekend. He's a D, but
Yeah.
he's trying to make conversation. I say, "Oh, yeah, good, thanks." He says, "No, no, tell me, what did you do on the weekend?" Like he's trying really hard. So I think, oh, okay. Within the first 3 words of my answer to tell him what happened on the weekend, he was already typing on his keyboard and picking up his phone to make me feel.
Mm.
So he's multitasking.
Yeah.
He has no idea that he's just offended me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanna know, but you're not actually listening. You
I
just
haven't been there at all.
okay, so it's great to be
Mm.
listening and
Mm.
ask them questions, but you have to actually show them that you heard what they said and that you understand. So how do you do that? Repeat it. Say,
Mm.
so what you're saying then is that you don't think this will work and that this could be a better way of doing it? And they'll
Mm.
say, yes, great, thanks for that.
Mhm.
What I think is da 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 da.
Yeah.
Now you can give them your opinion or shoot them down in flames if you want, but at least they know that you've understood them and that you've listened.
It's so critical to do, and coming from a person that probably blows the chart out of the task orientated mentality,
Mm.
from my perspective, it took me when I actually understood that people remember how you make them feel over what you've got to say.
Yeah,
Um, it makes a massive difference to the and I'm saying that for the task people out there. It can be done because I was so far off the scale on task. It was, you can actually stop, and it makes a massive difference. That's why I wanted to explore that listening component of how important that is for the relationship when you're creating a culture to be an employer of choice, creating an environment, little sessions where people get listened to. How do you do that? How do you set that up? What systems do you use to create those environments?
you need to just like in a marriage, they talk about the date. Make
Yeah.
sure you book a date night. Get grandma to come and babysit the kids, and you book that date night every week or every month, and you put it in the calendar so you don't miss it, and you make it important.
Yeah.
Same with your staff.
Yeah.
Same with your people and your team. Put
Mm,
in your calendar, whether it's the weekly rumble, the weekly get
mm,
together to recap what's happened over the week, or it might be the monthly review, what happened this last 30 days and what's going to happen in the next 30 days. Make sure it happens. The
mm,
3-month performance reviews,
mm,
a HR professional would say you need to do every 3 months.
mm,
How often do you actually do them? Maybe they're in the calendar and then they get pushed back and pushed back because you're too busy or something came
mm.
up. 12 months later, you still haven't done your 3-month reviews and they're up for a new contract.
Yeah.
Every time you put something off that's in the calendar, it's
Mm,
telling that person you're not important.
yeah. And that's really important for becoming an employer of choice, is to show the people that they are important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be consistent.
Yeah. Consistency is important. We could spend a whole day on that, I think.
Yeah.
From that perspective, because we are running short of time now, can you, if you want, put in a nutshell, what would you want people to take away from this from the focus of improving revenue and profit? What would be the key takeaways that you'd want them to have?
Ooh, there's so much.
I know. We've got to distill it down, though. We can do a second or even a third one if you want to. We can talk
Yeah.
about that. But what
Look, the
from
3
this,
things. I'm
yeah.
gonna give you the 3 things. I kind of think this very similar to the 3 pillars of what you work with too, Damien,
Mm,
is number 1 is you must have a
mm,
plan for every part of your business, not just, "I'm gonna be here in 12 months."
mm,
What is the actual actions in every department of your business
mm,
going to get you there?
yeah.
And it must be written down so that you have a clear path. So when things get fuzzy,
Mm,
you've got that plan to
yeah.
remind you what you wanted. So you
Yeah.
have to have the plan written down, and it
Mhm.
can't be sitting in your drawer. It's got to be visible.
Yes. How often do they collect
You
dust?
know, you know why I'm rolling my eyes, because they just collect dust. They do. You spend all these hours creating a plan, and then you just put it away and don't look at it.
Yeah.
What's the point of doing it? Have it up there. I've got mine up on the door here behind my door,
Yeah.
just keep reminding me and keeping me on track. The second thing is your processes and systems, because if
Yeah.
you can fine tune and get things systemized,
Mm,
even bring in AI where it needs to be,
mm,
you create automated sections of the business where it can be, then you're saving time and
mm.
money on that excess stuff
And creating consistency.
and creating consistency, just like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Everything happens the same every single time. So your clients and your staff know what to expect. They're not surprised by anything. There's
Correct. Yeah.
stability there.
I love
And then
that.
the third thing is the people in your team and the people that you're serving. Really,
Mm,
you want a smooth, stable, happy, functioning team.
I love that word stable. That was just giving me shivers when you said that, creating a
They
stable.
want stability.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They just want stability. And we didn't have much of that during COVID. So
Mm,
now they want it even more.
yeah.
They're really craving for it. You just got to give them some safety and stability. Let them know that you're the product or the service that's going to give them that, or you're the employer that can give them that.
Yeah. I love that. Do you want to just before we go, and we'll put it in the show notes, but do you want to let people know some of the key things that you offer and how to contact you?
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
You thought I'd forgotten, didn't you?
Look, I work with businesses that want to take, like I said, that jump to the next stage, and they're a little bit, oh, I'm not sure how to do it or how to go about it, or they've jumped and
Mm,
now things are a mess. So they
yeah.
just need someone to come in and simplify things. Um, I have a Facebook group
Mhm,
for small businesses called Your Small Business Hub. If
mhm,
you want to jump in there, join the group, and there's lots of other small businesses there, and you can chat and ask questions. And I'm on there all the time, sharing information and helping people along. So just jump in there, it's free. Uh,
mm,
and apart from that, a strategy session, a strategy call just for 30 minutes, 45 minutes can offer answer a lot of questions and just get you out of your own head. So
mm,
if anyone listening wants to jump on a strategy call, often that's all you need to get you started, to get
mm.
you moving again. If you're a little bit stuck or you're not sure about something, let's just get some clarity around that. Happy to chat.
I love that. And your contacts, we'll put that again in the show notes, but
Yeah, yeah, just look for Lisa G, the business chick.
yeah,
Jump on
easy to
LinkedIn,
remember. I love it.
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, just trying to make it easy.
Yeah. So look, search Lisa G, the business chick.
Mm,
Lisa, and I must say you're a woman after my heart because my favorite color is green. I'm loving your jacket. It's awesome. So
mm.
thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show, sharing that wonderful knowledge. Love to have a further catch up in the future, but thank you for taking the time.
Thanks, Damien. It's been great.